Today we're gonna get Rekt. That's Rekt Jury. The Jury is a really underappreciated blaster. It's really reliable for a revolver. It is CO2 powered, so it packs quite a punch as well. And so if you run it as a secondary, it's really small and it's sleek. It's got 6 rounds, which is enough to pop off quite a few shots. And as a secondary, it does really great. And even though it uses CO2, which is a consumable, because it is ran as a secondary, you're not burning through that CO2 like you would with a primary. So even one canister will last you plenty of shots for an entire day of playing as a secondary. And so it's a pretty accurate blaster as well. All being said, for a close range, it is really great, and it's only $50. And so the Jury is a great grab if you haven't seen it yet. However, it being $50, it's not perfect. There are quite a few internal mechanisms that can go wrong, and so we're going to look at how to repair it if you have some common breakages, which I say common, but honestly, it's only happened a couple times. But it's only a $50 blaster, so you may just go out and buy a new one for 50 bucks. However, I, like a lot of people, would rather fix the things that I have rather than have to spend money or shell out money to buy a whole new one when only one part is broken. So that being said, this is the Rekt Jury. This one is brand new in box, so it doesn't actually need repair. So to take the Jury apart, I'm going to take off the cylinder, just like that. A couple things that can go wrong with the Jury is sometimes the air restrictor, which is inside of this metal casing there. The prongs that come out when the air is fired through it, you can see there's three prongs in there. And those, if they break, those are just plastic, they can come out, they can be sticking out of the blaster, and so they're always in the air restricted setting, and so you can't fit the cylinder in with those prongs up. So what you can do is take it apart and take out the air restrictor, which will then solve the problem of not being able to load a cylinder because those are stuck forward. If you take out the air restrictor though, you may see a slight increase in power, but because of how fast the CO2 is expelled through the system, the air restrictor, I think, is mostly just there to keep dirt out of the system. But anyway, the other thing that can go wrong is the rotating arm. It's got a little spring in it that makes it reset. Now that spring is connected to the trigger, and so if that trigger return spring is broken, then a lot of times the rotation arm will be stuck forward, and then you won't be able to actuate it with the trigger. And so this fix, we'll look at that. The trigger spring is a torsion spring and is the spring that most often breaks. Again, we've only seen it a couple of times, but it is worth noting, so that way you can take apart your Jury and put it back together with a replacement part that you could get from us or Rekt, and then you'd be able to use this really awesome secondary again. So to take the Jury apart, I'm going to take off the CO2 storage, unscrew the 6 screws on the side, and then the 7 screws on the other side. Get a clean workspace, keep your screws on the table, otherwise pull the screws out, 7 to the side, and 7 on the other side. Then I'm going to carefully take out the internal mechanism, which is going to be all of this here. Take off this half here, carefully, just pry it up. I'm going to go straight up if you can and not lose any springs, so pay attention if anything jumps out at you. And then we'll see that this cylinder post will like to pop out, so I want to keep that in. And then this is all the crazy stuff that always falls out. So if we look at the rotation arm, you have a spring on the back of this. So this rotation arm spring will actually come all the way up into that spot above the plastic shelf. So you see how the mechanism works. All it does is this hammer hits the pin on the back of the air, and it just releases that much air at a time every time the hammer hits. And so the spring that breaks, that makes the rotation and the trigger stop working, is this one here. This spring here is a torsion spring that usually breaks, so then we can just pull that up. That's usually why your blaster will stop cycling. That little leg sticking up will come off, and to put a new one in, you just put it face down like this, and then you'll want to bend the straight leg around to the top of the rotation arm to keep that arm pulled down. And there you go. That's how you replace the trigger spring. Put this arm back in. We'll replace the shell, and again, make sure everything is where it needs to go. So we'll put the cylinder peg in. There you go. You can test the cycling now, see if it works. Oh, safety's on, safety off. And there you go. Put the screws back in, Bob's your uncle. Oh, to take the air restrictor out, you would just pull off the air restrictor. Pretty easy.